Hi, my name is Nick Latty. I'm going to spend a few minutes showing you the differences between Adobe Lightroom CC and Adobe Lightroom Classic CC, which were released in October 2017. I'm then going to briefly explain why I think this was released now. On the right is Lightroom CC, which is the new cloud storage version. On the left is Lightroom Classic, the update to the old Lightroom CC. In Lightroom Classic, looking at the basic panel, if I click on the auto for tone, you get this result. Compared with auto on Lightroom CC, the result is exactly the same. If we compare the numbers across the panels in both apps, if you adjust any of the sliders in either app, the result is the same. In general, using auto uses exposure to do more work than highlights and shadows. I'm resetting the exposure to 0 in both apps by double clicking. In Lightroom Classic, the white balance is part of the basic panel. I'm changing it to shade to make it more obvious. In Lightroom CC, it's part of the color panel. Changing to shade replicates the result. The other part of the color panel can be displayed in a number of ways. In Lightroom Classic, these controls are replicated in the HSL panel. The tool that Classic has that CC doesn't is this cogwheel tool. If I click on the wooden door in the photo and move the mouse upwards, the orange hue changes and the yellow slightly. In CC, I can adjust the orange and the yellow and produce the same result, but there isn't this local adjustment tool. I'm going to reset these sliders. Tone curve does not exist in Lightroom CC, only in Classic. Split toning is again Lightroom Classic only. Detail is present in both. You have to click the option triangle in CC to see further options. So it's a display difference, but not practically different really. Lens correction is optics in Lightroom CC with another option triangle to select the lens. I made the lens selection earlier. Just switching the profile on and off, the effect is the same in both apps. Transformer is geometry in CC. I'll switch that off in Classic as I put in horizontal and vertical guides. I'm going to add the guides in CC. Click here and the guides I put in previously show up. You end up with the same result. If you want to change things manually, you need this option switched on. If I then alter the vertical slider, I can change the geometry. I'll do the same in Lightroom Classic. The result is the same. I'm now going to open the healing brush in CC. I'm going to click on this door handle and it disappears. Repeating the same in Classic, the result is the same. The adjustment brush in Lightroom CC, I've already switched the auto mask on. I'm going to paint on the unit top. There is an option triangle again. I'm going to paint quickly and sloppily. I'm brushing in a large exposure increase so that you can see it easily. Increasing the exposure even more. And deliberately painting onto the wall. I'm doing this to show you a new feature which is much better in Lightroom Classic but not present in CC. I've previously painted in Classic and deliberately been sloppy, increasing the exposure to show the selection which is onto the wall. The auto mask works well at the front edge in both Classic and CC. The new feature in Classic is the range mask. I've already set up the luminance mask, which has reduced the effect on the wall, but altering the range of luminosity, masking out the brighter wall compared to the darker desktop. You also mask using colour if you want. I've already tried this out. I didn't find it work so well in this particular photo. You use the eyedropper to select a range of colours, and the amount slider sets whether close by colours are also selected. Back to luminance range. This is a pretty good quick selection. If I reduce the exposure slider, it produces a quick result which is really quite effective. As I've said, this masking is absent in Lightroom CC. I'm going to use the radial filter on the sink in Lightroom CC. Inverting the filter so I increase the exposure on the sink, and I'm reducing the exposure so that it's more subtle. I'm doing the same in Lightroom Classic with the radial filter. Initially putting a high exposure and then reducing it to more useful levels. With any of these filters, you can use the range masking in Classic but not in CC. I'm demonstrating with exposure, but you can adjust any of the sliders in the panel. The gradient filter is totally inappropriate for this photo, but I'm showing it anyway. And you can see the results in Classic and CC are exactly the same, except for the lack of the range mask in CC. In October 2017, Adobe changed Lightroom's offering. Lightroom CC becomes Lightroom Classic CC, Lightroom Mobile becomes Lightroom CC, and Lightroom 6 is no longer available. You can't get a perpetual license anymore. These apps are only available with monthly subscriptions. For $9.98 you can get Lightroom Classic CC, Lightroom CC with 20 GB of online storage, and Photoshop CC. or for $9.98 you can get Photoshop CC, Lightroom CC with 1 terabyte of online storage, but no Lightroom Classic. For $19.97 you can get all 3 apps and 1 terabyte of online storage. Differences between the apps are Lightroom Classic has color labels and folders not present in CC. CC has artificial intelligence keywording, which seems to work pretty well. Classic doesn't. Classic has tone curve, split toning and calibration, which CC doesn't. Lightroom Classic also has merge panoramas and merge HDR, which Lightroom CC doesn't. Lightroom CC has the ability to sync iOS, Android, web, Mac and PC and apps for all of these. Adobe competes with Apple. Apple have recently started using the HEIF photo format rather than JPEG because of reduced size and increased metadata availability. There was a brief period after introduction of iOS 11 where the previous version of Lightroom couldn't cope with this format, and I suspect that some of this timing might have to do with that. I'd also like to point out that HEIF is certainly being promoted by Apple, whereas Adobe likes to promote its own DNG format, which is for RAW rather than a JPEG replacement. I hope you found this fairly quick screencast comparison between the new Lightroom CC and Lightroom Classic CC helpful.